Hi, this is Neil Davidson. Welcome to another tutorial video here at avforums.tv. In this video, we're going to look at some of the compromises that you might have to make in your own home to get the best positioning for your home cinema speakers. One of the biggest problems in a home cinema system is deciding where to put the front left and right loudspeakers, especially if you've got very large speakers like we have here in the demo room. The reasons why you might have problems are, of course, you don't want the speaker to be in front of the display, you don't want the speaker to be in front of the door or the window, and for performance reasons, you might not want to have the speaker too close to the wall or into a corner. We'll look at some of those compromises and see the effects that they can have during the rest of this video. One of the most obvious compromises that we have in our home cinema system is that we want to make sure that the speaker is not in the way of the display. If you have a projection system and the speaker's in the way, of course you're going to get a nice shadow on the screen, and if you have a flat panel, then of course you're going to find that you can't see the bottom corner of the image. There's no point to compromise your picture to try and get an extra few percent of sound quality. The next main compromise that you can get is if the speaker needs to be placed too close to the wall. What happens is that the bass that the speaker produces, the low frequency sounds, get emphasised and you get a boomy bass. The technical term for this is boundary gain, because the boundary causes a gain in the low frequencies. The next compromise that you have to consider is the actual direction that your loudspeaker is pointing in. The sound that you hear is a combination of the sound coming straight from the loudspeaker to you, which we call the direct sound, and also a combination of the sound coming from the speaker and reflecting off the wall. That's the reflected sound. So the sound that you hear is a combination of direct and reflected sound. Now, if you have the speaker pointing straight at you, you reduce the amount of reflected sound, but what that can do is it can damage the listening experience for other people in the room. So it pays to spend a little bit of time moving the speaker so that you can get the best balance between direct sound and reflected sound. The next compromise that you need to consider is the height of your centre channel loudspeaker. Ideally, this speaker would be directly opposite ear level. Now obviously if you have a flat panel display, we've already said that we don't want to compromise the picture by putting our speaker directly in front of it. And the trade-off there is normally that you have to put the speaker below the display. If you're using a projection system, you have the option of using an acoustically transparent screen, and what that does is it allows you to put the speaker behind the screen and get the optimal positioning. Of course, you need to have enough space to install the speaker. Now, if you have to mount the speaker below the screen, it's very beneficial if you can angle the speaker up towards the listening position. It's very similar to what we discussed earlier about the left and right loudspeaker angle. There are also going to be instances where, for example, you have a cabinet below the screen that prevent the speaker from going underneath. And in this situation, it's actually very acceptable to put the speaker above the screen as long as you're not going too high. In fact, in many instances that can give a better performance. Again, it's very important though that if you're going to put the speaker above the screen, and typically this would be a flat panel, make sure that you have some way of angling the speaker so that it points down into the listening position. The next compromise that you need to look at is the positioning of your surround speakers. Here in the demo room, we have a reference level system with a 7.1 configuration. What that means is that we have one surround speaker at 90 degrees to the listening position, and we have a back surround speaker at roughly 140 degrees to the listening position. Now, in a normal home setup, it would be quite common to find a 5.1 configuration. And in a 5.1 system, we want to have our surround speaker at roughly 110 degrees to the listening position. And remember, we explained these angles in an earlier video here at avforums.tv. One of the other very important points about the installation of your surround speakers is to consider the height of them very carefully. What you want is you want to get the surround speakers up 30 to 60 centimetres above seated ear level. What that does is it helps the ambience of the surround effect, and it helps to prevent the sound coming directly at you, which can create an effect known as the exit door effect. Basically, the speaker becomes so obvious it distracts you from the actual movie that's going on. One of the things with the exit door effect is it makes 7.1 configurations more difficult to handle in a normal home environment. As you can see, even in this demo room, the back surround speaker is much closer to the listening position than any of the others. Now, there's a second problem with this particular back surround speaker. You can see that it's very close in height to the chair in front of it. And what that means is that the sound is getting blocked from the listeners. Again, this is a typical example of what can happen with back surround speakers. We want to get these ones up a little bit higher to get the best effect. Now, an ideal compromise for a home environment is to use a 5.1 system as we have here. You can see that the speaker is positioned so that the sound can travel clearly to the listeners, but it's not too close to them. An ideal situation. The one speaker in your system that's more susceptible to any of these problems than any other is the subwoofer. We're going to have a separate tutorial video here at avforums.tv that specifically addresses subwoofer setup to make sure you get the optimal bass performance in your home cinema system. Thanks for watching.